Okay, so you're talking about cultural competence, and you're talking about engaging with people of different cultures. How? How do you do that in a way that can be effective for an organization? How do individuals do it? And so what I hope that I might be able to do in this interactive session is to talk about what I call the steps towards healthy intercultural relations. And I want to help you identify 3 of those steps that can be made. So in that sense, if there is anyone who might be having the need to improve their intercultural competence, that might be some help. And of course, to apologize to anyone who might feel that this is a little too simplistic because you've done stuff like this already. But to say that what I hope that will happen is that they will be at least contributing to some learning. So 3 steps to healthy intercultural relations. We come then to the first step, and I call this the step to look. Now, it is very important that for this particular exercise, that you all can see very clearly and read what is on the slide, because what is going to come up, it's going to be important that you can actually see it. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you 3 slides. Each will appear for 2 seconds. Each slide will have something written on it. And just to make sure that you have had enough time to see it, I will repeat the slides. So slide 1 for 2 seconds, slide 2 for 2 seconds, slide 3 for 2 seconds, then slide 1, slide 2, and slide 3 again, and then. So altogether, it will be, in effect, 12 seconds that you've had to see these 3 slides. Here we go. Let's go back and see the slides. Did I hear you read it? Bird in the hand? Bird in the hand, isn't it? Parish in the spring, isn't it? Right. And that one helped you so that you would be able to look. But anyway, parrot once in a lifetime. Now, some people, of course, saw the extra word, others did not. And the question is, why did we not see the extra word? We asked people to say why they missed the extra word, and these are some of the responses, of course, that people gave, similar to what you have given here. It's how the mind works. They looked at the beginning of the word and not at the end and assumed what was in the middle. The slides went too fast, or they did not read carefully. These are some of the reasons. Some of you have, however, I believe, identified another important reason why we did not see. And I call this a critical reason, and it's what I call prejudice. And what prejudice actually means is the capacity to make prejudgments. Prejudgments based on perception more than on reality. It is in effect giving a decision or a sentence without actually making a trial. Or another way to say it is, in fact, that we came to the conclusion without sufficient information. I am putting it to you not only that some people do this, but it is actually necessary that we do this. In fact, we cannot understand anything we hear unless we are able to make prejudgments. When we read a text, in order for it to make sense to us, we have to be projecting the meaning of it as we read. And we read again to make sure we understand. Prejudgments, we need it for normal living. But the difficulty is that some people don't realize that they are having prejudgments. And because of that, they take it for granted that how they see things is how things really are. But there's something important to note. Because we all have these prejudices, and in a sense, this is the point I wanted to make, that we all have prejudices. We all need prejudices. The problem is not the existence of prejudices, it's the inability to manage our prejudices. Because we do not own them, and therefore try to alter them or to adjust them to the reality of the situation. And this, for me, is the first and critical step in intercultural relations, to own your prejudices. It is important to mind how you look at situations. So, I say then, as the first step towards healthy intercultural relations, own your prejudices. And step 2 is what I call imagine. Okay, so we had about 1,000 people watch this DVD over a period of time, and we asked them to identify what are some of the things that they saw as normal. We asked them to imagine. Imagine that you had to go to Ainapang for an indefinite period of time, and for you to reflect on your own norms in Ainapang. What of your own norms you would want to preserve in Ainapang? When you get there, what would you still want to be able to do? And what would you be prepared to give up in Ainapang? So the question was, what would you preserve and what would you probably give up altogether? Well, we put the same question to a little over 1,000 people in the same way, and look at the responses that they gave. The things that they would give up would include these things: dress, food, mobile phone, appliances. And the things that they would want to preserve would be these things. But I want you to notice, look again at the kinds of things you want to preserve and compare them with the kinds of things you're actually giving up. Now, the way in which I would say it normally is that you cannot look on someone and know what their thought about hygiene is. You cannot look at someone and know what they think about parenting. You cannot look on someone and know what language they speak just by looking. You cannot know a person's notion of health and safety, of gender equality, of privacy. You cannot look on a person and know those things, yes? But those are the things being preserved. They are actually hidden things. Compare with the things that you'd give up. And it is for that reason why we say culture functions in a way like the iceberg. Because the weightier things, which probably about like 90% of the iceberg, is really below the surface. So we say they are deep level things that are preserved. And the things really that are being given up are the superficial things. Yeah? But consider, those things that are being preserved are really the things that influence how you make decisions. Because you believe in them, you have come to value them as a part of how you have lived safely and well and healthy, you are preserving them. As long as we can hold on to our deep level things, we'll want to hold on to them. But those are the things that influence decision making significantly. Am I making sense here? Therefore, when we meet someone from another culture, one of the things to be mindful of is that there are things that you are not seeing which are being preserved because they're at the deep level. And how you interact with them will have to do primarily not with the things that they are prepared to give up, the superficial things, but with the deep level things. And it is, in a sense, adjusting your cultural lens to realize that those are the things being preserved. That is a critical task. And that is why I say step 2 of intercultural relations, in a sense, is adjusting your cultural lens. And why do I say adjusting your cultural lens? Because you might think we see the world as it is. No. Based on the things we preserve, in truth and in fact, we see the world as we are. And it is that adjustment that needs to be made. We are looking at the world through our lenses. And a critical task to do is just to do a little bit of an adjustment of the lens to realize that, in fact, someone else is looking through a different set of lens because of the deep level things that they are preserving. And so now we come to step 3 in this steps towards healthy intercultural relations, and I call it try. Okay, now you have pencil and paper at the table. I'm going to ask you to do this, if you can, in pairs. This will probably take, take a minute to do this. If you can, together, hold one pencil in pairs. Just to hold the same pencil in pairs. And together, draw either a house or a car. Well, a number of people were asked to give their response to this question. The question after the exercise was, notice carefully, how were you able to do that together? How? Now, the task had no consequence, in a sense. I mean, you could draw a good house or a bad house. It was neither here nor there. But look at the amount of things that you summoned in yourself to do the task. An inconsequential task required all these things. Now, there are two things maybe we to draw from that. One is that if we're going to be doing much more complex tasks that have consequences, then at least these things will be required. You would agree with that? Because if we have to draw on them for inconsequential things, then how much more when we have to do much more complex things, and probably with people of different culture. But there's another thing that is also helpful to note, and in a sense is a consolation. You did not go outside to learn the skill to do these things. So in a sense, there is an existent capacity to do it if you want. And that is why I say, I call these intercultural keys, because it really has to do with our willingness to make effort, which is why I call the third step try, make the effort. One of the problems we have is that people, in fact, do not make the effort. So as a third step, I say make intercultural effort. Make the effort. It will make a difference. And I say make an effort because cultural competence has to do with different kinds of things. It has to do with knowledge. It has to do with attitude. It has to do with skills. It has to do with awareness. Awareness is easy to acquire. And in this setting, we can acquire awareness. Skills and knowledge, a little harder, but attitude, they are difficult things because they are very much related sometimes to deep level things. And many people think that the most critical part of relating with people of other culture is actually knowledge. But in fact, it is not knowledge that is the most critical thing. It's the attitude, and it has to do with the effort, whether or not we will make the try. And people can, in fact, improve their cultural competence because there are different levels of competences. We say people are culturally blind when they assume that their own values and their own deep level things are the only set of deep level things. We say people are culturally competent when they have made the proper adjustment to their cultural lenses so they can appreciate that there is a different set of deep level things. Does that make sense? So we can move from cultural blindness to cultural competence. It takes effort. And since I'm out of time, I'm going to give you a simple tip that I say, which helps to make intercultural effort, and I call it RAP. Paying attention, watching without staring, seeking knowledge, reading, asking questions, not assuming that you know why things are done, but asking those questions, and also to have the experience of participating in cultural events. That can make a lot of difference.